Okay, when Tyson and I first started hooking up, there was another fellow, Scott Wiles, who sent me these pictures right down from where Tyson was. Now, I want you to see something. Look at this carefully. These, all the way across the top here, are little chunks of tendon. And they have a membrane on top of them, like every single thing in your body has a membrane. And then on the bottom, this globular looking stuff, that's literally glue. I'm serious. I see it in my stuff. It glues the tendon. Now, where do you see this? Now look at this. You see that? Tyson's got some stuff. He's got it all over the place. But this is the tendon fibers. And every fiber is coated with this webbing looking stuff. You see it?
Yeah.
That's interstitium. Now, let me show you something that's on Mars. All right, don't forget, this is glued right in here. You see it down here? Pay attention to this right over here. Let's see about Mars. This is what's up on Mars. That's interstitium.
I can't imagine any wind causing that or anything.
Well, it did actually, because it was originally it was skin up at the top. Then the weathering of Mars is not a lot watery and runny like it is here, so it's like sandblasted. So it sandblasted the real cheap stuff off, the skin and so forth, and it got down to these anchor balls and straps. Now, we find a lot of balls all by themselves, like just balls laying around like this. And the straps are eroded. And you can see how finely grained this is. That's
right.
That's
Geology calls them concretion. Geology calls them concretion.
Yeah, I know it. But look, you see what happened? This is pinched skin over here, and this is pinched, and this is stretched. That's why the straps are running long. My belt has exactly the same thing. My belt is identical.
Roger, I just put a video up showing them stretched out and broken off, remember?
Yeah, I know. You got a lot of them like that. I've seen a lot.
It almost looks like whale bones, you know what I mean? But it's not. It's interstitium.
All right, now. And then the balls. Now we just saw that's identical. Now, these are the balls that have just eroded. This is up on Mars. They call them the Mars blueberries. Now, all of the straps are the weak parts compared to the balls. The other stuff is mud. It turns into mud. Now, up there, it got hit by a disaster a long time ago. And here's the Mars crab. All right, there's an artery, that big round one with all the arms sticking out. That's an artery. And right above it is a vein. The veins don't have a lot of arms. They bring the blood back up to the heart. But you can see where it's in. It's inside these sarcomeres. Those are muscle sarcomeres. They contract. And I've shown that pretty clear too. So we know we got stuff on Earth. We got stuff on Mars. All of the ancient texts talk about gods being planets, and moons and everything else have names of gods. And they talk about them being gods. So what do you do about that?
Can you go back to that video we had up?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right, you want me to keep going with it?
Yeah, go to where the drone video's at. It's towards the end, the drone, and I'm showing the thickness of that membrane. There you go, right in there.
All right, here it goes.
Back up. There you go, right where you had it. Right there in front of you, see that gray area?
Yeah.
That's the thickness of the membrane. I was standing just to the right of that, on top of that. The bottom, right there where your arrow's at, that's the bottom of the membrane.
Okay.
Here, let me
And
back
that's the
up.
thickness of this one. Now down below that, right? Okay, stop right there. You see that stuff to the left, that at an angle, all them balls out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. I've got drone video of all that now, and all the interstitium. Some of the balls are still laying in the fabric. Some are eroded and are out of the fabric. I've got video of this stuff that nobody on Earth has now.
Wow, good.
His stuff is over the top, man.
I will blow your mind with that interstitium right there alone, and prove 100% that they are not geological concretions, not formed by any geological process whatsoever.
Yeah, let's watch it, and then we'll make comments about it. All right, so I'm going to open this up, and we'll
Well,
watch.
this is just going to be the membrane.
All right, here goes.
Hold on here. I got to find a spot where it's a little better. Okay, this is better.
Oh, no,
I was standing right in here. This is where I was. Okay, I was showing you this right here. Top layer of the membrane. Pause it a minute, Roger. This is the membrane. I was standing right there at the point of that pencil. That's where I was standing. The bottom's right there where your arrow was. Okay, we're gonna have to get into it. I just used parts of this drone video to show you the membrane. We're gonna have to get the drone video to look at that membrane. So you need to go to my channel.
Yeah.
I got some good shots of your stuff, man.
I've got some of these cells at home I took off and brought home, Jim.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and what they are is silicon dioxide, completely, and it's really coarse on the outside and super, super compacted more towards the center.
Okay, so they're just replaced with silicon dioxide, correct?
All it's doing is right. All it's doing is it's a molecular exchange.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And,
right.
and all the silicon or the silicates were turned to silicon dioxide, turned to sand.
So it's just an in-place fossil, basically.
Right. It's just a replacement.
Right, replacement, exactly. Right.
Basically, that's what it is.
Nucleophilic substitution.
Right.
Molecules are no longer in their perfect state they were in, and as soon as the body dies, everybody starts freaking out. Then you add water, electricity, all that other crap, and you end up with what we see.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the way I'm seeing our ancient past and how this all happened and when it happened. This was, as Velikovsky recorded, now he was a really, really good guy and a scholar. He wasn't a high, I'm one of the group guys. He went out and got all the information, and every culture on Earth had the same stories about dragons and giants and monsters and a huge, gigantic impact to the Earth by Venus that was born from the feared god Jupiter. And that was it. They all had the same story. And it was only 3,500 years ago. And apparently at that time, Jupiter was in control of this solar system. He was the supreme god of the solar system. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, as they had all of these crazy sex orgies and everything with animals and everything else. So they had all these crazy monsters. So he decided, I'm going to get rid of them, and he sent Venus, and it killed all of these gigantic creatures. Now, was this the Earth below? Was it one big gigantic creature, and then because the Earth had to be something, and then these gigantic creatures had to be on top of whatever that something was, right? That's the way I'm seeing it.
Well, that's what I was. Yeah, I was kind of asking you this the other day, Roger. If your theory was more that the Earth itself was an organism, but I go along to the very last thing you said. It seems like, if we wanted to be consistent with Genesis, we could say that God did form the firmament. God formed the earth, as it said, and later we can explain why these gigantic creatures are dead and entombed on the surface of the earth, like Typhon, and this I'm thinking must be part of Scorpzilla, correct, Roger? Since it's on the west coast, isn't this consistent with Scorpzilla?
My thinking is yes. I don't know. Tyson might have a different view, but I think
I have a different view on this.
Okay, but fine. But either way,
that's okay.
Fundamentally, God created the earth, and I think what the three of us are trying to say is that these enormous creatures, be it this one, whichever, they were killed in combat of some kind, as documented by the ancient texts.
I believe, here's what I believe. The stuff like Roger's dragon and the fish in the desert, I'm not too sure on that stuff. The China and Mongolia are living on a dragon's head. That stuff there, I believe the earth itself is formed out of it. They never lived on the earth because there's no way they could eat. Somehow, if you take a look at, this would take too long. Jim, I need to talk to you later, and I will show you in Genesis where God's creation of earth and stuff is separated from what he's creating it out of. There's a separation there. We're reading over it too fast. When
Okay.
God's talking about his spirit being over the deep, he's not talking about the earth. He's talking about creation itself and what he creates out of his creation pool in his primordial elements.
Well, you
And
sure?
then he creates earth and everything out of that.
When you
So,
say that,
we're not, Earthman, our creation, we're not the only ones, we're not God's only creation. We're not it. You know, Earthman, the Bible's only about Earthman's creation and that event. It's not about all God's creation and everything God has going on. He even told Nicodemus, you can't handle things on earth. Why would I tell you about the things in heaven?
yeah, okay.
Because you see, it's over the top. We can't even handle what's being revealed now.
Well,
God will give everything to us.
let me like Tyson. Let me interject something.
Yeah.
I have been looking at every different culture that I can find, and they all have a very, very similar starting point.
Yes,
where
me too.
where this says the sky ruled over the whole world, and having wedded and having.
Can I interject? You know, a lot of this, because if you take a look at the Bible, let me ask you this question: what was here before the Bible?
Well,
Think about that.
I know.
Think about that. What religions, what anything was here before the Bible? You see what I'm talking about? There was more. There was something else here.
Well, hold on. Hold on a second. Wait. I want to answer your. I want to answer your question. What was before the Bible?
If you just let me finish this sentence, the Bible is also drawing off of Sumerian texts.
I know that.
I'm letting Jim know, though. He doesn't.
Jim knows that. I'm sure he does. But anyway, that's okay. But my point being is that you say what's before the Bible. There was all kinds of cultures on earth. They weren't reading the Bible. They went and brought the Bible to them. They brought
What I'm getting at is a lot of Christians think that the Bible and that was it. That there was nothing before that, and that this is the way. I'm trying to show that no. Even the Jews drew off a lot of other writings when they did the Bible, and I can prove it. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, that's okay.
Before the Bible was here,
well,
they even talked about it.
The only thing that I can point to is Velikovsky's work of going through all the ancient texts of all the different cultures. And they all had the same story of this disaster and how we were almost hit by a comet, which ended up being Venus. And that was 3,500 years ago. And they all had the same story. And they all had stories of dragons and giants and battles in the sky and Vimanas and there's things on Earth. Nobody can explain any of this stuff. So I'm looking at these things as having a very good historical foundation.
Right.
And this one right here says basically what the first words in the Bible say. The sky ruled over the whole world, which is his spirit ruled over the deep or whatever it was. And then he wedded the earth and begat, in this case, 100-handed creatures and cyclopses and all kinds of crazy things. And this is the text that talks about Typhon, who exists identical to what they claim. So. And then you go to Hesiod, he says the same thing. And the Bible says he ruled over, what is it, the spirit of the God ruled over the depth or whatever it is. There's a lot, and all of the other ones talk about the earth being made of dead creatures' bodies, and Christ says that in the Gospel of Thomas. So I don't know.
Hey, I just sent you an email, Roger, with a video link at 57 seconds in. Can you pull that up?
Yeah.
And go 57 seconds in, please.
All right. Yeah, there's some serious. Yes.
Turn that volume down.
Yeah, 57.
Okay, there's the interstitium. That there, I'm getting ready to come into with a drone. There's 3 to 5 parts per second of the interstitium. This is a fabric we're getting ready to come into. That's that membrane, all that gray area.
Okay, now when you say membrane, we're looking at the side of the membrane, right? right?
Now we're looking at the side, and stop. Can you freeze it right there, Roger?
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of layers right here. That gray area is the membrane itself, but then there's other layers, and it's sitting at an angle. That's why they think it's geological uplift.
Yeah, right.
But
I get that.
But so is every skin. Your skin's at an angle. We're like onions.
Right. I'm
Like
just
when you peel the skin back, a little piece of skin hanging, and it goes even deeper to where everything's at an angle. You know,
Yeah.
it's like this on us too.
right.
Yeah. And so that video I just had there, we're coming into the interstitium,
Okay.
which geology says they're concretions, they're formed geologically, and these are not.
Right.
There's only, so far I can only see one form of a concretion that's actually geological, and I'm not even sure on that yet. Because right now I'm doing research on crustaceans. A lot of crustaceans we find. You want to go ahead and play that, Roger? Yeah, that's really, we're gonna get into the interstitium balls down there. That fabric starts about 57 seconds.
Those are the interstitium balls right there. That's what it.
Yeah,
Those are the ankles.
And a lot of it, this thing was decayed too. You got to remember that, you know. So how much the degree of decay in this carcass, I have no idea.
Look at that.
I know there's a minimum of 1,000 feet missing off the top of it in most places.
Look-
1,000 feet.
Think of this.
That's
Think.
why it's so hard. That's why on Google Earth, I've been trying to tell everybody it's really hard to see what it is, because some places there's more than 1,000 feet of it missing.
Now, Jim, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If you were looking at this 10 years ago,
Yes.
what would you say?
I would have said uplift. I would have said uplift of some sedimentary
I would,
layers.
I would too.
Now,
I would too.
And until I got up there with a rock hammer and chipped it, you know, I would say, okay, I think the purplish is probably a shale. Maybe
Now dig this. When you went to hit it with your hammer, most everything there is sandstone of some kind.
okay.
Thick, either coarse or fine. Everything here is transitioned to silicon dioxide.
yeah.
Very good. Well,
Most of it has an oxidation on it. When you get through the oxidation, it's some form of silicon dioxide. So what do you do with that with being a sedimentary deposit when it's actually all a transition silicon dioxide?
I mean,
No.
if indeed these could turn out to be membranes, which they probably will, it suggests to me that an organism, when it's new, like the human body, a brand new human body that has cells in it, that cell wall, which I think is the same thing as a membrane, is made of a very rigid lipid layer. So if this is a dead carcass, I could see the structure of the membrane, decaying the last, and the more
you do, but you know what you guys call it? Cross bedding.
No.
you can get off geology. I'm strictly biology.
No. Hold on.
A lot of it, the sandstone, you guys will have you'll have a layer coming into a layer, and you call it cross bedding when that's actually a membrane, and it's all the layering, the fabric of the membrane.
Okay, that's right, and that's what I'm saying. The silicon dioxide.
No.
And Roger's
Here's my question. But getting back to 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I know you know what the different types of minerals are, but
Yeah.
what would you say about the process that got it there? How long it would take to create this? That's what I want to know.
Well, since I am a creationist, now I would be saying that probably happened within a week as far as the uplift. Now, if it was back in my college days, I would say whatever the professor taught me, which was that took millions of years
150
to cock up in that orientation.
Yeah.
But since I really believe in creation, and I would say that this even if I thought it still was a geological feature, I would say that it just took a matter of hours, maybe days to be uplifted, because I believe in the global flood.
Right.
And I believe in what happened in the flood, and the flood has a lot of evidence for some rapid geological activity. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I was getting. Because creationists will get into the 6-day creation event, so everything had to happen in 6 days. And here's where I come in with that. Geological theory on basalt columnar joint is it takes 50 to 100 years for one of them to cool. So where's your 6 days there?
Okay, okay.
A lot of it happens supernaturally. I mean, it just happens. God did it supernaturally. It's creation.
Venus almost hit Earth. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, but you see this in front of you?
Yeah.
These are concretion. What geology call. There's round balls inside of each one of these tube-looking things. This is interstitium.
Right.
This is all those round balls we find all over the planet, still in its fabric.
Well, let's just talk biology. I mean, forget geology.
This coats all of our organs. This interstitium. I mean, and it's different thicknesses. When you get up in an epidural layer, it's thicker than it is right here. This right here is coating something that is not epidural. I have found that out. There's different thicknesses of it, just like that membrane you see right behind it. You can see that membrane to the right. You can see it on the point of that ridge there. Right. That's the thickness of that membrane. That membrane there is thicker than the one up north 100 miles away. So we're in a different piece of biology.
Right. Let's stick with biology because Roger's fixed me on geology. I'm already. I'm sold on this biology thing.
You're going to see some patterns in here. You're still going to see some of the fabric itself here in a minute, and the coarseness of it. That's going to be some of a fascia type, or not fascia, a connective tissue type stuff too, also holding it together in its fabric mat.
I mean, what I'm learning from this is that the biological organism, must have gradually decayed, and while at the same time giving a chance for these harder minerals like silicon dioxide, potassium feldspar, all those kind of silicates to be washed into the membrane and solidified.
This isn't like permineralization. It's not taking the place. There's actually a complete transition that happens.
Wait a minute, you're saying this is not mineralization?
Molecules don't stay the same with a nucleophilic transition. They don't substitution. They don't stay the same. Everybody, all the molecules are trying to find a sweet spot, and so everybody ends up attaching and doing things they don't normally do, and things turn to stone.
Okay.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes
mineralization, minerals come in and evade the cell and take the place of a cell, like with a tree. Like trees, that's how they permineralize, you know what I'm saying? They evade the cell, and then minerals take the place of the cellulose fiber of the tree. And then you have minerals that took the place of the cell.
And you're saying that's not what's happening here. You're saying
this is a different type of substitution. This is nucleophilic substitution. You can actually Google it.
So it's different than mineralization.
Than permineralization. Yes.
Okay.
Am I correct on that, Roger?
Well, you got to take into account the enzymes.
Well, I'm just talking about the theory in general.
It's
nucleophilic substitution is different than permineralization.
I see what you're saying. You're saying it's happened at the atomic
level. In other words, the way this process was different than the way a tree processes.
Okay. No. I don't go along with that at all. Trees.
Well, what I'm saying is, a tree permineralization, right? It gets permeated with minerals.
So does all this. This is the same thing. The same thing. It's aren't we getting a transition? Like that's why the silicon dioxide in our bodies transitions to sand. Well, everything transitions to stability. It doesn't matter. I understand. That's why.
Let's look at it this way. Let's say that a giant died, and was laid in the mud, and he originally had calcium phosphate bones. Well, if you came across him today and his bones were still as hard as a rock, they would probably no longer be calcium phosphate. They might be potassium phosphate or something. They might. I think that's what you're saying by nucleophilic. You're saying that the ion itself changed, correct? Like,
yeah.
Say they find a human body that's been buried in a creek in the mud. When they dig that body up, the whole thing is mud. Where we don't have everything here being mud. We don't have everything here being sand. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's,
Yeah, but it's-
So there's a different. I believe. Here's what I believe. This is my belief. I believe the creation of Earth and all these other planets and stuff, and their carcasses or whatever. I believe that event is supernatural from God. I don't believe that these animals created themselves. These carcasses somehow died and all formed plants. I believe God did it. He did it out of chaos deep, because I've found now where God made His creation out of chaos deep. And so I believe that's what the main, and then there's other stuff that died in the flood that's on top of the planet, like Roger finds on his planet, on his property, like a 200-foot tall giant, 1,000-foot tall giants, whatever they might be. I believe those are laying on carcasses on top of the planet that died in the flood, along with all the dinosaurs. That's why you find dinosaurs in the clumps and stuff, because they floated around and then landed right there.
Right.
They used to understand that that's it. It was such a bathtub ring. It was incredible. Could you imagine the bathtub ring?
Right.
If you put a bunch of crap in your bathtub, a bunch of body parts and a bunch of pig fat and stuff, and let it sit there for a year, what do you think it's going to look like?
hey, I got to tell you something. You want to hear something strange? You know how there's a gyre in the ocean where all the garbage collects in they found out that it's a refuge for animals. They love it. They living in there because this gives them some kind of refuge to hide out, and they're living in the little bottles and all kinds of things. And they're thriving in that gyre.
You see this fabric? It's laying over top of this interstitium. It's eroded away. It's getting even down lower and lower. I've got a video coming where it's of a different spot of this same stuff, and a lot of the balls are now laying out of the fabric, and you'll see that there's 3 to 5 balls usually in per. I call them socks, or like these tubes here. They lay in. See that?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, just what's your feeling about? Tell me chemically what the transition has been in these right here. I mean, what do you?
Roger's a lot better at this than me, but I believe because of all the silica or silicates in our body, we're loaded. I mean, that's what we basically are. I believe that's why most of the stuff we find is sand or some form of a silicon dioxide, whether it might be old red sandstone deposits, sediment deposits of sand, whatever it might be. A lot of stuff in our body, because of what's in the body, turns to a silicon dioxide.
Okay.
We're made of so much phosphorus and phosphates and things like that. We're made of nothing but connective tissue. Our human body is made of 28 types of collagen. Even our cell linings are made of collagen. Our bodies are nothing but collagen of some kind.
Let me interject something. You're right. You're exactly right. Every single membrane and every single thing has a membrane, even down to the red blood cells. They have their own membranes.
That's right.
Now, what is? There's 2 layers. There's a phospholipid layer above and a phospholipid layer below. That's the bilipid membranes Tyson was talking about. That's basically almost all phosphorus. Now, just below phosphorus in atomic number is silicon, and just below that is aluminum. Now, the phosphorus in this heated, long duration flood breaks down to silicon primarily, and then aluminum attaches to the silicon to make the membranes fuse, because every feldspar, 100% of feldspars are aluminum silicates. 100, right, Jim? I mean, you know
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
100% are aluminum silicates. Now, they have inclusions of other things, of other minerals and metals and so forth, but the primary constituent of what it's made of is aluminum silicates. And sometimes you get like complete silicates, like where everything goes except the silicon fills in everything. Like did you see Mitchell Hedges' skull? You saw that, right? Mitchell Hedges' skull, the silicate skull.
It's a clear crystal skull, right?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot more to this than we have been.
Oh, there's so
exposed.
much more than we've been told.
Well, look at this. Look at this. We were just talking about silicon. Check this out now. This is the Mitchell Hedges skull. Now, this is the crystal
I'll be
skull.
right back.
Yep, go ahead. This is the crystal skull right here. And you can see the lip is turned up here. You see the lip and the nose is smashed back. The rest is absolutely 100% crystal. Now look at the fibers in the brain stem. You see the fibers going up this way and up this way? Look at this. Identical. This is a brain scan. Nobody can get in. Nobody can get inside of a brain, inside of the crystal like that to make it this way. It has to be real. Now,
I'm trying to figure out. I mean, you mean that crystal skull on the right is not a machine-made item?
No. This was found years and years and years ago. Mitchell Hedges.
Are these the ones that were found down in South America? He and his daughter were down there.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And she's
his
about.
daughter actually came across them first somehow. She was stuck on the side of a cliff, trying to claw her way up the mountain and came across them, right?
I believe that's correct. And I think she's like either dead now or she's like 100.
Yeah. Okay, I know that account. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this was not machine made. There was no 3D printers or anything back then. Now,
okay, so and then they found something like 11 of them or something, right? And then maybe they were able to keep one, and the rest ended up in museums and things.
I'm not sure, but this was the one that I took an interest in. The mandible, the jaw comes right off, just like ours does. And the lip is twisted back, and the nose is. And the reason would be that that's the only flesh that turned into silicon, and that was because it would be stuck down on its face. In other words, that thing would be like this.
Nobody's gonna drop. Who would carve something with lips and a nose like that?
No, nobody would. Now look at this. You see that in the back? That's the back of his brain, and it's drifted forward. And this one here is in the back. It didn't drift forward, but that's because this thing wasn't laying on its face.
See, I just learned something now because when I first came across the same account of the man and his daughter discovering these in South America in the 1920s, I thought they were pointing to some ancient group of aliens that were on the planet that taught people how to make these things out of pure quartz block.
No,
but the answer to that is apparently no.
No, this was biology.
You can see all the structure still in there. The nerves, everything are still there. And not only that, but like if you were to carve that, you'd get laughed out of the village.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. But I mean, okay. But let's get back to it. So, if a human skull, to begin with, is calcium phosphate, then apparently the calcium phosphate at some point must have been substituted by silicon oxide, right?
Silicon dioxide, yeah, silicon dioxide.
Okay,
no.
So there was a substitution. There was some kind of transition process whereby the calcium phosphate was leached out, and as it was leached out, instantaneously silicon dioxide replaced it. Am I right?
Well, I really got to be perfectly honest with you. I have no idea. All I know, here's where I come down on this. And the only thing I can figure out is there was some chemistry in the local water that this thing was soaked in. And I would suspect it had something to do with a kidney or a liver or the pancreas or gallbladder, some enzyme that was invasive. And enzymes create all kinds of chemical activity. And somehow it removed all the biological stuff, except you see the nerve fibers, like Tyson was saying, these nerve fibers, these are tough. These things are tough. And they're a whole different thing than the rest of your biology. It appears they're the bones change, the teeth even change. Look at the teeth.
Right,
well, how could anybody even carve something like that? You can see it's been laying on its face. The brain's moved forward from the back of the cavity. You can see the nerve fiber endings. You couldn't even carve that.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's,
I mean, okay, it's easy theory.
Yes.
So much of theology, like almost 99% of it is theory. Everything either happened a long time ago, or it happens so slow that you'll never see it in our lifetime,
Yeah.
or it happens where you can't ever see it processing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like what a perfect platform to work off of. You know what I mean? I mean, I would love to have that. Well, we kind of are working off that too with mud fossilization, but you know, God's the one that brought this to us all.
Oh, amen.
I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, you know, he's the one that's revealing these things to humanity, I believe, in end times, just like he is right now. He's trying to open people's eyes to the truth, and I believe that this is part of him drawing his creation to him.
I agree with you. I agree 100%.
It's sad because the narrative is, you know, it's really sad because I know how the narrative is for peer review. And in other words, if you don't follow our narrative and look for what we want and meet our guidelines, you don't get paid. And so it's really tough for anybody out there. And I really do feel for people that might see this. You're retired now, so you're good to go. But people that do say it and can't say nothing, I mean, their livelihood relies on them actually fibbing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're forced to follow something that maybe they don't want to follow, but what do you do?
listen, I got to tell you a story. I got to tell you a quick story. On one of the comments, this girl found some mud fossils, and she knew they were mud fossils, and she took them down to see her doctor and showed it to him. And he said, "Those are rocks." And she said, "No, they're not. You're just as ignorant as all the rest of them." They wanted to put her on hold for 72 hours for mental hold.
Yeah.
When
all this when all this first came to me, the Lord brought it to me because I was praying really heavy. He brought this stuff to me, and He brought you to me, Roger, and everything like in the blink of an eye. And I was blown away. And you know,
Scott Wiles is the one that brought it to you.
Before I ever met anybody. I was talking to you, and I was telling you about my logging and stuff, and we were going back and forth, and I was trying to get videos. I couldn't even do a YouTube video. I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get video. I wanted to start telling people so bad that, hey, creation's not what you've been told. It's not, you know, and in my line of work, I'm in forestry, and so I dealt a lot with hydrologists, geologists, all these scientists, because we have to with the Forest Practice Act in order to do logging plans out here. And so I was dealing with a lot, and I didn't see a lot of things they were seeing. Even when I was out logging and I'd get around creeks and stuff, some of these creeks I would find literally chunks of meat in them, like stone. But some of the stuff Roger shows, I found bigger chunks, like almost the size of roasts with fat on it. I'm going and marbling. I'm going. There's no way this stuff could be evolutionary volcanism.
You know, well, you say you're out west. Where are you exactly?
I'm out in Oregon. I'm out in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in the Coast Range.
Okay, so you're right.
Eventually, I'd like to get your email, Jim, and I got so much stuff to share with you, videos, so much stuff. And you understand, I understand. There's three areas of geology I understand very well. That's basalt columnars, the jointing, horizontal and vertical both. I understand concretions very well, and I also understand volcanic intrusion theory very, very well. I've got over 1,000 hours in volcanic intrusion research theory of my own on just video, and they're so wrong. They're absolutely 100% wrong, brother.
Well, the Lord really did bring us all together, because I'm telling you, well, in the first place, I don't even think I've known Roger maybe slightly over a year, even if that.
Yeah.
And he has already overturned my 40 or 45 years of geological experience. I mean, seriously. He's brought a whole new perspective, and I gotta tell you, I took it all, very skeptically, and but he started making sense to me the first week or two I started talking to him, and I've looked at it a whole different way. But I want to say this: I know the Lord brought us together because you couldn't be a better fit right here, because Tyson, because You know, Roger's shown me a lot of views of columnar joining.
Yeah.
Okay, like in the, I can't remember what state it's in, but you know the Devil's Tower, which is in
Oh yeah.
Colorado or Utah or somewhere.
I think Montana.
Huh?
I think it might be
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you got it.
Well,
I have them here. I've got videos of them here. I have it on the coast. Believe it or not, it's everywhere. It's just under the surface where you can't see it.
yeah, and you know,
Because it has nothing to do with volcanism. It has nothing to do with volcanism. It's not intrusive basalt. It never was a liquid. It never was a molten form.
But you know, now the next best thing to an ankle
There you go.
that I've thought. I mean, somebody said it's a tree stump. You know, because there's more than one. There are other features like the Devil's Towers, and they're saying, well, these must be, you know, tree stumps. But
Yeah.
you know, but the hardcore geologist is going to argue you blue in the face about it being columnar basalt.
Yeah.
And you know just exactly what you're saying there,
Right.
and they won't deviate. They won't give you an inch on it. I mean,
No, it's so ingrained in the brain. But the part that always got me was I've got some really good stuff here where I live. I mean, I've got a fantastic site to work from.
Yeah, where do you see the stuff? We're gonna go through it right now. I got his.
And the stuff that I get into, that really blows my mind when I got into the columnar jointing was when it went horizontal.
oh
I
yeah,
can handle the vertical, but when I've got so much horizontal, and then they're going, well, that happened the same way. You know, it can happen, you know, through retention and stuff. I'm going, this ain't happening by surface retention.
Well, it's uplift. It's uplift,
That's
man.
insanity.
It's uplift. Uplift. You're just a crazy person. It's uplift.
Oh man!
Now look at this. Look. Look at what I'm holding up.
Horizontal where I'm at.
Look at what I'm holding up. This is a chunk of that stuff. Hold on. Let me see if I can get. Can you see that all right?
Yeah, is that basalt columnar?
Actually, this is a piece of muscle, I believe. And
Feldspar?
I don't think you're going to be able to see it. I can't really hold it up right, but you could see the blood and the center of it has a biological core to it. And this brown stuff is the feldspar coating, which is the fascia.
Right.
And you can see it. I don't know how well you can see it there.
I should do a video, Roger. See these rocks here? I've been going to do a video. All these right here are coated in feldspar, and you can see the feldspar's broken off them.
Yeah.
Here, I can't show them here very well, but I should do a video. I've got a lot of them here that have a coating of the feldspar, and then inside is about biology.
Well, here's the deal. Virtually every...
It's just a rock.
Well, just about every single mud fossil I have is coated with feldspar. And feldspar is an aluminum silicate, and that happened because of the great hot water flood. Because you got aluminum and silicate right below the phosphorus, and the phosphorus is a little bit volatile, and in the hot salty waters and so forth it turned into aluminum silicates, and all of hold on a second, and then all of the fleshy stuff boiled off and turned into mud. All right, go ahead.
I was looking like sodium chloride and like potassium. They have an electrical charge with them.
that's right.
Yeah.
So that would really boost things too when molecules are trying to, things are happening.
Right, exactly.
Man, I love this stuff. Trying to figure all this out. It's like Where's Waldo?
Yeah, it really is.
It's like trying to figure out a mystery.
Well, this is brand new. This is like the first time, really, seriously, in history since they were writing the Greek epics, that there might be some truth to things.
I know. It's mind blowing, isn't it? I mean, it's like, holy cow, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so okay. Well, you want to get into this?
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do. This is Tyson's channel. It's called Tyson's Mud Fossil Adventures. Now, let me play this. This is only 5-6 minutes, let's play the whole.
Can I explain what's going on here real quick?
Sure.
Okay, what we have here, Jim, geology would call this eroded basalt. But what we actually have here is a bilipid membrane. You have the upper and the lower, and above this is a whole bunch of interstitium balls. In fact, where I'm pointing, well, it's on up above the upper layer, is interstitium balls. And what this video is I have found another bilipid membrane other than this one, and the other one is down south 100 miles away. And it's in what they're calling a sedimentary deposit with geological uplift.
Yeah.
Hold on, you guys talk loud. That's not what it is. And so I'm showing you this bilipid membrane, and then I'm showing you what I'm doing is I'm introducing the other bilipid membrane, and I'm showing you this one to compare it to.
Let me just I'm sorry. Let me make one statement, and then you guys jump in. This is the lower bottom layer. The upper one, right up above this, that straight across line, is identical to this one, and in between there's what they call a fluid-filled highway. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, is this on the Oregon coast?
Yes, this is on the Oregon coast. Now, now that top membrane you see right there, that black, Roger, can you use your arrow on the top membrane?
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, that top membrane right there, I couldn't get up on top of that and look down on it because it's too steep. Right. But we'll be able to see the top of the other membrane, the top layer, and it's going to have the pattern like you see on this lower one. And what they have on the top of them also, this pattern is not something that's always visible. It's usually a really flat sheet of fascia across that kind of looking, both pieces usually.
Gotcha.
It's worn off right here, the fascia part.
So Roger, isn't that consistent with your theory about you brought something up about 6 months ago about, like you said, the fluid-filled highway. Is that another a lymph passageway or something?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Lymph.
Yeah. Now,
that's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Okay, now this is 100 miles away. This is down in a place called Cape Arago. It's a state park, and they say this is all geological uplift, sedimentary deposit. What I'm getting ready to put my hand on right here is the top layer that's looking right here in your face, right there. That's the membrane. That's the top layer of this new membrane right there.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
And then we're gonna, if you just play the video, Roger, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Here, you want me to put the sound on? Here.
We're getting into, this is it. Okay? Now we're getting into the top layer. And here's that pattern that you've seen in the other membrane up at 100 miles away. Oops, not there. Sorry.
Yeah, you see that? That's not just by accident, it's insane.
This is not sediment deposit. I mean, oh man, it's just blown. And when you're on this stuff, it's like, this is not sediment. It's over the top. It's insane when you're even there. You just stand there in awe going, what?
The problem is, it's the mind in collision with reality, because
it is. The mind cannot handle what's going on.
Right, exactly.
And when you start getting into ancient texts, even the Bible, me and Rod, we're going to get into this, because even the Bible, I don't know if you know this, you take a look at King James. King James mentioned dragon 35 times and they took it out.
I didn't know that.
I study from King James and New King James, so I know this very well.
Okay, good.
And they replaced it with owl, ostrich, jackal. They replaced the word.
No, I didn't know that. I believe you, but I didn't know.
If you got King James, it mentions dragon 35 times in it.
In the old original King James, it's 35 times. But the new
right now, any King James you pick up, even 1618.
Wow.
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah. I just to fill you in on my background. I both of you guys I know probably have been religious all your life. I never was, but now I am. I not when you call it religious. I realize that something serious is going on here, and the only one that I can look at that had a clue about how complicated things are was Jesus Christ. And
I was 27 before I started realizing God was real.
Oh, good.
Well, I always kind of looked down on those people, how weak their minds.
And that's why God's using you right now.
Yeah, that's right.
He's using everybody he can use to draw people unto him. That's
Yeah.
what he even says in his word. Okay, let's go ahead and look at top that. Let's go a little bit further.
All right, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. Here we go.
All right. Isn't that phenomenal? There it is. There's that same pattern that I showed you on the other membrane. There's the top layer. Okay? It's really eroded down. It's not as thick as it should be. It should be a lot thicker, okay? There you go. That's the top layer of this membrane.
Now, I'm going to bring something up. You see in between these little blocks, there's a really gooey substance that sits in between there that allows those to be completely sealed so that nothing can get through there into your tissues. And then there's all those holes. Remember back here where these holes here? I'm going to show you the anatomical. Do you see these holes? Then they didn't just come out of here by accident. Those holes are ion channels and protein channels. And this up here, that black spot right there, was where some blood is. All right, I talked about the membrane. That's what the membrane is right there. This is Tyson's membrane. That's right there. These little holes. They're ion channels. And they let things come in and out. Those 6 feet apart is the lower layer to the top. In us, that is so thin, if you held it up, you could look right through there. You wouldn't even hardly know it was there. And these, I mean, it's just staggering, the size of things. That's all I can say. But Tyson has an area up there that's just incredible. And everybody's got something incredible, basically. But his is just eroded to a point where you can look at it. It's like a 3D CAT scan. It's just incredible. How a geologist can just that's nothing. That's just a this. It's just a that. And so this one guy, Myron, that's out there. It's just amazing. The conclusions that he draws is really very, very comical.